Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anita, for your introduction. And today I'm going to talk about English medium instruction. Let me just explain what that is. English medium instruction is teaching and learning subject in English. It makes good sense if we are talking about the US context, but growing number of places where English is used as second or foreign language are adopting English as a English medium instruction in each university campuses. So it's growing increase of global popularity in Europe and East Asia. And in Korea, elite universities take the lead and they require about 50% of their courses are taught in English, some up to 90%. So average college student in Korea, not just elite university, average, they have to take about 4 or 5 English medium courses to be able to meet the graduation requirement. And this change happened because there's a change in the university ranking system. In Korea, there is one newspaper company called the Jaehan Daily that runs a university ranking system. In 2008, they added English medium instruction section under internationalization aspect. So universities became made up internationalization policy to implement English medium instruction, but it's not primarily for learning English. So it's been said that both students and instructors were not ready for it and not trained it, and there were worries about adoption without adequate support for faculty and students. When I was trying to, this is part of my dissertation study, when I was trying to decide my dissertation topic in 2010, I heard the news from Korea that one university that was very well known from its internationalization, that university taught about 98% of courses in English. In one semester, 3 students and 1 professor committed suicide. It's been reported that English medium instruction had effect on their stress and their tragic decision. So I decided to do this topic as my dissertation research. And then I did some literature review. I was able to identify largely 2 different kinds of body of research conducted in Korean context. So first group is trying to understand perception about English medium instruction for students or faculty members through mainly online survey or paper survey or just interview. And the other group of study try to measure whether students learn content or they learn English through those English medium instruction. And there's been mixed results in the outcome depending on varying context. And all of the research was conducted outside the classroom. So I decided that I have to conduct a classroom-based research on their pedagogical knowledge and the need for English medium instruction professors in Korean context. So I had set a few research questions. I'm going to share only just one. It's about their knowledge of teaching approaches and methods. So the theoretical framework that guided my research and data collection and analysis is the Freeman and Johnson's TESOL quarterly article on reconceptualized knowledge base of foreign language teacher education. This theory emphasizes that teacher learning comes from participating in the social practice of a particular classroom and school settings. And they have 3 domains under this theory. First one, teacher as learners of teaching. So to understand teacher's knowledge and their teaching, understanding teacher as learner of teaching, their identity is very important, just like the Matthias's argument. And of course, secondly, knowledge of their context, including school and schooling, is also important. Lastly, a pedagogical process in terms of teaching actual teaching is also one part of the knowledge base. So I conducted case study with multiple participants. I worked with 6 university professors in 4 universities for 7 weeks. I used multiple data sources, and so I did some pre-teaching interview before I observed their teaching, and then I entered their classrooms, and then right after their teaching, I talked to them, and then I recorded some of their teaching, not all, because they didn't want me to record. So some simulated recall interviews, and I collected like syllabus and all the handouts and analyzed their data. I kept my journal, a research journal, and member checking and heard their feedback. And for analysis, I used the 3 domains of the knowledge base that I just mentioned, and then also I did a thematic analysis for my analysis. Here's my participants: 6 university professors, 1 professor linguistics, 2 design professors, 1 engineering, 1 biology, 1 music theory. And I'm going to share only 4 people today. And 3 professors are from 1 university, age ranging from early 30s to mid 50. And then all professors except 1 studied in the English-speaking countries. 1 professor did not study in English-speaking countries, but did his doctoral coursework in Korea. And teaching experience ranged from 2 years to 23 years, and English medium teaching experience ranged from 1 to 15 years. Among 4 universities, I am going to talk about only 2 universities. First university is Global University. It's known for its global education, and they have an excellent system for supporting both teaching and learning using English as a medium instruction. It's academically very advanced. And Regional University is a branch campus of a comprehensive university. It's excellent. So I'm going to share cases one by one. First, Professor Linguistics. This one is very ideal case. He was born in Korea, moved to US when he was in high school. So his proficiency is very high. And he was previous director of intensive English program in Korea. Most universities in Korea don't have intensive English program. This one has it as a part of the support system. And students were English major, very fluent in English, and there were a few real native speakers English in studying in the classroom. He has a belief that he wants to, as a teacher, he wants to guide students in their problem-solving efforts. In terms of context, his knowledge, he told me, as a previous IEP director, he told me his good things about his language education program in the university. Every student has to take English test just like in the US, and then if they don't succeed, then pass, then they have to take courses. So he said that students who pass the English courses can take English medium courses without much problem. And after my interview and observation, I can say that his classroom is not very different from American college classroom. So both professor and then students have very high proficiency in English, and interaction between instructors, students were in English, and interaction among students were in Korean. And his teaching was very collaborative and constructive. So the course was phonology and linguistics course, and so he presented, without teaching specific theory, he presents a bunch of language data, and then helps guide the students' co-construction of linguistic theory. And then he provides more data and enhance their understanding, and then collaborative problem solving among students through homework and group work, and then they present their understanding, and then they summarize using the handouts. Another interesting was that he had weekend tutorial session. So every Saturday, students who volunteer to study more, he understands that students' understanding is inevitably limited when they are learning in a second language. So to support students learning, so he's running a weekend tutorial session using his own teaching assistant. The rest of the cases will be discussed very quickly. So Professor Design 1 did his study only in Korea. So because of that, he's very self-conscious of his English. And 20 students they are less proficient in English than in those in linguistics course, and then there is no native speakers. I think what he said about his teaching design is very important here. So design is a very difficult subject to teach in a language that is not your mother tongue. We call design ill-defined problem. Critiquing students' work is very important in design education. We need to be able to say and understand specific vocabulary phrases that allow us to express subtle meaning as we are trying to define those design problems. Therefore, the instructor for design English medium course has to be a design expert with very good English. This makes sense to me. But he says, my limited English severely hinders the way I facilitate students' learning. So I realized that through the interview that he had humility and professionalism. He practiced his teaching. He asked one of his exchange Korean American students who are bilingual in Korean and English, and then asked the student come to his office, and then he teach in front of the student, and then get corrected for his expressions. And I thought that's really humble and professional in terms of his preparation and teaching. And he also told me that he adopted a new identity. He's not just a design professor, I'm also English trainer, because his department opened an English training program for the students. And design professors take turns to supervise their students' learning. When I observed his teaching, he lectured everything in English and communicate in students' language. What I mean by that is that although he taught in English, when students ask questions, if he asked in English, he responded in English. When he asked questions in Korean, he responded in Korean. And he also used Korean for summarizing, emphasizing, and clarifying. Another design professor at the same university. She worked, after her study in the US, she worked in New York as a designer for 5 years. But the problem with her students is that they are all seniors, and they are taking this course just because they have to meet their English medium course graduate requirements. So they are not motivated to take English medium courses. They do it because they have to do it. But her philosophy of teaching and learning is that she allows no dropouts. Everyone has to go together, and everyone has to succeed. But when you're teaching in a second language, and depending on students' proficiency, it's really difficult to do it. So at the beginning of the semester, she administered a student survey. And then that had included a few questions about language of instruction, medium of instruction in the classroom. So based on the survey result, she and her student decided come up with a secret classroom language agreement. What I mean by secret is that she doesn't want the administrators know about her, that they are doing like conspiracy. Right. And then another thing is that she created a new course. It's a truly integrated, like content-based course that teaching teaching not just design, but communicating their design in English. So, but the problem is students don't want to take it because it's elective, and professor, because they're not trained to teach in design communication, they cannot do it. And Professor Music is my last case, and she's young, inexperienced college instructor, and her students are voice major, and very low English proficiency, and very low motivation to learn anything in English. And so this is her second semester of teaching in English medium course. And then she told me that first semester she tried to teach everything in English, and the students really didn't like it, and her course evaluation was terrible. So she invited me to come to her class, and then I asked myself, am I in the right classroom? Because for 10 minutes, I haven't heard a single English word. And then I was about to ask her, you told me you're teaching English medium course. Why did you ask me to come? And then she told me that she decided to teach English instead of teach music, keyboard harmony using English, because for obvious reasons, for students low proficiency and their low motivation. But instead, she decided to teach students practical spoken English for musicians, such as introducing their music and themselves. So right before the final exam for performance exam, they have to use this template to introduce their team and their music and each member's role. And my wife is a musician, and as a musician living in the States, all she needs to do is introducing herself and music. This makes perfect sense to me. So discussion. So I was able to identify some the instructional approaches broadly in 3 different categories. First one is classroom language. Different ways of using classroom language, and then another way is the facilitating students' learning in the classroom using different ways, collaboration, handouts, and things like that. And then last is facilitating students' learning outside the classroom. You can download it from the website probably after this. So I look at how they constructed their knowledge, the professors constructed knowledge of their pedagogical approaches from their complex knowledge of themselves as learners of teaching and their own context and students and pedagogy. And they actively utilize multiple resources to maximize students' content learning. That's their primary concern. But sometimes they taught languages. Skip this. This one is from research from Europe in English medium universities. It's Furtane Gomez said that in the classroom, the teacher chooses the language of main discourse, and personal interaction is negotiated between the teacher and the learners. This is the case of Europe, and I find this is also true for my case. And then all of my participants negotiated in different level, negotiated university language policy when they're actually implementing the language policy in their classroom level. And so Mencken Garcia in their book on classroom language policy said the educators are at the epicenter of this dynamic process, acting on their agency to change the various language education policies they must translate into the practice. And then with them, I argue that implementation of a language policy by definition involves a lot of policy making in the classroom level, with educators act as a policymaker in the classroom level. And there is really good example. I'll finish in 1 minute. From South Africa that has 11 official languages. University of Stellenbosch has a rule that classroom committee members can decide their language policy at the end of the semester. I think that's something that we can use in Korea as well. And the last point is that translanguaging as a pedagogy of English medium instruction. Translanguaging, defined by Suresh Kanagaraja, is the ability of multilingual speakers to shuttle between languages, treating diverse languages that form their repertoire as an integrated system. What I looked at in my observation was that the professors and students, although they are not perfect in terms of their English language proficiency, but they use the multiple linguistic and non-linguistic resources to make meaning to fulfill the purpose, which is to maximize students' learning. When looking from the translanguaging perspective, the Ophelia Garcia Li Wei just published a book on translanguaging. This translanguaging approach to language and education liberates our traditional understanding of teaching and language in the classroom. And that actually, makes a lot of sense when analyzing my data. Thank you very much.
We have time for about 2 or 3 questions. Just raise your hand, and again,